Hello, fellow safety and health professional, and welcome to another podcast in a series of podcasts based on an article in Safety and Health magazine that's all about you. My father-in-law, John, a retired pipe fitter, once told me that he loved his weekly safety meetings. Now, that surprised me. People usually tell me negative things about their safety meetings when I tell them in the safety field. Well, John went on to explain why he loved his safety meetings, which made me laugh. I get a chance to take a nice after-lunch nap, he told me. Boring and safety meetings or presentations are tagged together as tightly as butter and popcorn. Now, please don't get mad at me for saying this, but it's a deserved reputation. I've sat through hundreds of safety sessions, all different kinds, for years. Some have been delightful and mind-expanding, but most haven't. To be straightforward, they were boring. Good news. Your safety meetings, presentations, and training can be the exception. But you have to take the time to develop what professional speakers refer to as platform skills. Now, here are 3 platform skills tips. One-on-one eye contact. My experience on the stage, whether in front of 3 carpenters or 1,500 safety professionals, has given me this insight. How you look at your audience has a profound impact on whether they enjoy and accept your safety message or ignore it. Too often, the material, whether it's HAZWOP or respiratory protection, it seems to matter more than the people we are explaining it to. But as you and I know, it's the audience that matters, and in the fact that they learn and are able to, change their behavior in positive ways because of what we present to them. So look at your audience one person at a time. That's how you can engage with the people that are in front of you. Don't quickly scan everybody. Don't look at the top of people's heads. All this goofy advice doesn't work. What works is you look at each person for a moment as you would if you were talking to them at a dinner party at your home. There's no set pattern to who you look at. But when you do make eye contact with someone, make it intimate in the sense that for a moment, the person you are looking at is getting a personal message from you. They can tell you're talking to them. You say a sentence or so, and then you move on to the next person. You stick with them for a little bit, and you move on to the next person. Second thing, remember each audience is different. Every Wednesday for nearly 3 years, except for holidays, I gave a respiratory protection training class when I was a full-time access safety trainer at a nuclear power facility. Believe me, I knew respirators well. I gave that class every Wednesday. And sometimes I would give a special class on the weekend, overtime for people who needed it. Now, it was a challenge to stay inspired to make the topic fun because I gave it so often. But I believe I did so most of the time. One thing I told myself before every class that kept me feeling excited about the training was that even though I had the topic memorized and had presented it many times, each new class meant there would be a new audience, different people. And my corny jokes and fun metaphors would be new to them, unless they had sat through the class before. And what I do could make a difference in how they perform in the plant when they're wearing a respirator or choosing one. So this meant that I would act as if I was delivering the message for the first time, that it was fresh to me and new. That's where the platform skill comes in. I would act as if you would think, wow, he's really excited about this. This must be new to him. Of course it wasn't. You want to move around a lot. Don't do so much so you look phony. And the same thing with your excitement. You want to make it natural as you can. I would try, to say that this is the first time I ever did this, but I know it well. Now, don't concentrate on your material so much. Don't be so worried about, let me make sure I don't miss something. Though you want to do that, not miss something. Just, connect with your audience and make them be new and special to you. Which leads to the last tip, and that's to try new things. Now, this is both a off-the-platform tip and on-the-platform tip. It's both. It's not easy to try new things all the time, or regularly, I should say, but it is worth pursuing. One reason safety meetings have a reputation for being boring is because they're so predictable. You go over the objectives, then you do this part, you do this, you don't do that. They're commonly the same. So when you add something unusual to the mix, it spurs interest and adds freshness to the meeting for you and your audience. I often start off my keynotes with an intriguing question or unusual slide. You can do the same at your safety meetings. Here's an example. While I was hosting safety meetings for construction workers on reducing risks for a while, I had a weasel picture up on the front. The topic was shortcuts and risk. And when people would come into the room, they would see this slide of a weasel. Now, if I didn't have a projector or anything, I had a large picture of a weasel that I would put on a flip chart or put up on a board somewhere. And somebody would come up to me almost invariably and ask, hey, what's the weasel for? What's the weasel about, before the meeting started? I wouldn't tell them, but it was proof that my weasel slide was successful in arousing interest. And having something up on the platform, something you're doing, is new and unusual, will definitely make the meeting more interesting. Now, my introduction of the topic included a description of how wily and vicious weasels are as a predator. Then I would segue into a correlation between weasels and tricky risks and how they can get you just like a weasel. I had fun using this unusual metaphor, and I would talk about weasels throughout the session in different ways, tying it into the subject. And I do believe my audience didn't find it boring because it was an unusual twist on a common safety subject. So why not try and use your creative juices and develop ways to liven up your safety meetings so nobody takes a nice after lunch nap?